Welcome to Chaos Makes Magic, a podcast for feminine reclamation, where messiness is our muse and we embrace the multidimensionality of the feminine experience. You guys, we're here. We made it. Welcome to Chaos Makes Magic. I am so insanely excited to get this out to you guys and to just be on this journey of sharing my voice and sharing my wisdom in such a beautiful way. I have been dreaming this up for a very long time now, so it's been a long time coming, and I am just so excited and so grateful to have you here with me. My name is Amanda Nicole. I am a womb awakening guide and intuitive guide for women, really just helping women to come back into their wholeness and into their power, especially through womb awakening, womb healing, cyclical embodiment, and just coming home to their feminine being. In this first episode, we are going to talk about the multidimensionality of the feminine and how to make that your superpower, because it is quite literally the most powerful thing about you as a woman. And I'm also going to chat about my story with PMDD and how that actually helped me to really integrate with my multidimensionality and step further into my feminine experience. I really want you guys to just let this episode be an awakening and an activation into the fullness of who you are, and just really allowing you to reflect on potentially the pieces of yourself that you have shoved down or hidden, and to really find that empowerment. And again, just like being the whole version of yourself, not perfect, but whole. So let's get right into it. I wanted to explain the definition of multidimensionality because, of course, there could be multiple definitions for this, but to me, multidimensionality really means that like something is expressing itself in more than one layer or more than one aspect, and rather than being flat or linear, it's very complex and dynamic and contains many different expressions. So when we apply this to the feminine experience, we can think about the light and the dark feminine and the many different expressions that that has. And that is what makes the feminine powerful. She doesn't have to fit into a box, and she gets to be the whole damn spectrum. So when it comes to the light and the dark feminine, these are essentially like energies or archetypes of the feminine that we as women embody. And I think so many of us are very familiar with the light feminine, that energy or embodiment of like softness and receptivity and nurturing and love. And just like we see it all over social media, like going into your soft feminine era and being in your soft feminine. And that is so beautiful and, of course, so needed, especially right now when it comes to healing the masculine within ourselves, healing the wounded masculine, that like hustle and overworking pieces of ourselves. But what we don't talk about a lot and what has been shamed for literally centuries is the dark feminine. And this is really like our raw, true power. This is our sensuality. This is our boundaries, and just like all of those pieces of ourselves and pieces of women that essentially have been shamed for a really long time. And a lot of women struggle to allow these pieces of their being out, to like unleash them, because it might feel scary or wrong. But in reality, it is your greatest fucking power. So I am in the mood to get us fired up for this episode, because the multidimensionality of the feminine, again, is something that has been suppressed. It is the expansiveness of the feminine. It is the infinite aspects of the feminine. And again, like we as a society for centuries have accepted this like soft, light feminine and have not accepted the dark, divine feminine. But women have definitely been shoved in a box for a long, long time. Women have been essentially just like conditioned to be a certain way, to be palatable for society. And when we're talking about the multidimensionality of the feminine, we're talking about every single aspect of your being. We are talking about the good, the bad, the ugly, the chaos, the messiness, all of that. And that all like ties into your true authentic expression as a woman. And it is so important to allow yourself to be in that expansiveness and to actually like express all of those aspects of your being. This looks like expressing your light and your dark and your softness and your fierceness, or your love and your boundaries, and like knowing that it doesn't have to be one or the other. Like it gets to be all of this. And when we deny ourselves of our multidimensionality, we separate ourselves from our power and our authority, and we become something that someone else would want us to be. And especially like as little girls, we honestly were conditioned to be quiet, to keep the peace, to not speak up, to just say yes, to be the good girl, to be soft and like not ruffle any feathers. And that is literally like control of the feminine, and that keeps us out of our multidimensionality, keeps us out of our power. With that conditioning, we've also just been conditioned to be perfect. We have been conditioned that everything needs to be perfect. If it is not perfect, do not allow it to be seen. And we were never meant to be perfect in the first place. We are meant to be whole. And again, that wholeness is our multidimensionality, our full expression. Tapping into your multidimensionality will help you to dissolve the wounds that are keeping you in those people-pleasing modes, and like essentially break down the barriers that are keeping you from walking your most divine path. Because the thing is, especially if you are a woman who has big dreams, you know you have a big purpose here. If you continue to stay in those people-pleasing tendencies, if you continue to not uphold your boundaries or tap into that like raw power within you, you know that you are not going to get to where you actually want to go and where you are meant to go. Like genuinely getting to this place of like being seen by a lot of people and being heard and like actually sharing your voice. Like this takes having boundaries. This takes like standing in your truth and really integrating again with every single piece of your being. A really big piece of this too is like being scared of being seen, because so many of us again are conditioned to be palatable. We are conditioned to be this like perfect little packaged up version of ourselves that everybody's gonna like, and we're worrying about like, okay, well, if I do this, like somebody's not going to like that, or they might not like that, instead of allowing ourselves to just simply fucking be who we are to our core and express that and know that it is okay and that it is safe to do so. And the thing is, so many of us hold wounds and imprints, not only from our own experience, but from our ancestors as well, from past lives. The women that came before us, they were in the same boat, if not worse, and they were suppressed. Their voices were suppressed. Like they, in order to survive, quite literally had to suppress their multidimensionality and become a woman that like society shaped them to be or told them that they needed to be. And like it quite literally came down to their safety and being able to survive, because so many women needed men to survive, and women needed to, again, like be this palatable version of themselves in order to be like accepted by society. But we are now in a time where like we are able to shed that. We are able to take the mask off and like relax into the fullness of our being and really liberate ourselves like of those chains that were holding us back or holding our ancestors back. One thing that came up for me when I was doing the outline for this episode was hysteria. So if you haven't heard of hysteria, in the 19th century, for the most part, hysteria became like a catch-all diagnosis for women who were too much, who were too emotional, too sexual, too rebellious, too intuitive, too sensitive, too creative. Like it essentially was like them just diagnosing women who were expressing the feminine with hysteria and making them feel wrong for it. And essentially, like, I don't know exactly what they would do with women then. I didn't look into that much, but like, I'm sure that women were just told to like stay in their house and not express themselves. And then, of course, if you think about other women who saw this happening to other women, I'm sure that they were like, oh, shoot, like I am not going to express myself in that way because I'm going to get diagnosed with hysteria. And hysteria comes from the Greek word hystera, which means uterus. So what they actually thought was happening was that the womb would like wander around the body. They literally thought the womb was wandering around the body and like causing emotional outbursts or sexual desire or just all these things that are an expression of the feminine. And it's crazy because that is quite literally womb consciousness. Like that is what happens when you awaken to your womb. And when you allow your womb consciousness to expand throughout your body, you begin to really like integrate with these things, these like big, heavy emotions like rage, anger, grief, ecstasy, like just all of these beautiful things that are such an imperative piece of the feminine. So the dark feminine is really about like rage, desire, destruction, sexuality, intuition, and just like deep emotional currents. And these are the traits that society feared. And again, that is why hysteria became a thing, because they made it a problem in women. They made women feel wrong for expressing their multidimensionality. And hysteria became a way to control or suppress women from like expressing those darker, more primal and powerful feminine expressions. So the feminine is cyclical, meaning that we move through a cycle every single month, our menstrual cycle. And don't even get me started on why women are so unaware of this or why we weren't taught this as young girls, cough, cough, control. But when it comes to exploring your multidimensionality, working with your menstrual cycle is a very potent way to tap into this, because that quite literally is multidimensionality. And we are so wildly connected to the earth and to the cosmos through our cycle and through our womb. And it really is the most incredible way to come back home to who you truly are as a woman and like live a life that truly feels embodied and aligned to like your inner being and those emotional currents and that multidimensionality. Cyclical embodiment is the practice of embodying each phase of your cycle rather than trying to push through certain phases or to not like fully honor each phase. So a lot of us tend to try to push through and shove down our luteal and menstrual phases. And what I mean by that is like we don't allow ourselves to feel the full spectrum of these phases of our cycle because they are difficult and because they have been shamed. So, especially menstruation has been shamed societally for a very long time. It has quite literally been demonized. And that is because it's so powerful. There is so much power and wisdom in menstruation. It is when we are most intuitive, it is when we are most connected to the spiritual realm. And in demonizing that and shaming that in women, that has caused us to completely disconnect from it. And if you think back to the first time that you bled, odds are you were probably told to just wear a pad, put in a tampon, and just go about your day, and to essentially like hide it. Like it was embarrassing. And like if anybody saw your tampons or pads, like that was embarrassing too. But in reality, like so much power lies within menstruation and your luteal phase as well, but in your entire cycle as a whole. And that's where cyclical embodiment comes in. And really, to understand what that means, it means that we need to learn about each phase of the cycle. And just aside from like the physiological standpoint, like the physical aspects of our cycle are certainly so important and such a beautiful foundation. But in order to really like embody your multidimensionality and to tap into that, like you need to learn more about the spiritual and energetic aspects of each phase of your cycle. So a little cycle 101 here for you guys, but we have 4 phases in our cycle. We have the follicular phase, which is our inner spring, ovulation, which is our inner summer, luteal, our inner autumn, and menstruation, our inner winter. So we move through these phases every single month. Each one correlates to a season. So follicular is spring, ovulatory is summer, luteal is autumn, and menstruation is winter. Knowing this definitely can help you to, I don't know, like connect the dots between how you're feeling by like also witnessing or understanding like the earth seasons that she also goes through. But I really see the follicular and ovulatory phases of our cycle as the like embodiment of the light feminine. So this is when we have more energy. This is when we are more outward focused and really like creating and doing and just like in that light feminine energy, in the sense of like loving and nurturing. And like ovulation, of course, is when we are most fertile. Like this is when you might feel more inclined to be intimate and like turned on and all of that, even just like turned on by life in general. And these are the phases of the cycle that are more like societally accepted, in the sense that like the way that we as women tend to behave during these phases of our cycle is more accepted by society. The luteal phase and menstruation are more so the embodiment of the dark feminine, which is not as accepted by society. And this is why these have been demonized. And I spoke a little bit about menstruation, but the luteal phase also has been shamed in so many ways. So if we think about PMS, like, of course, there's always like, oh, like you're PMSing or you're just a bitch during this phase, when in reality, like our bodies are so insanely intelligent and wise. And during our luteal phase, like this is when those heavy emotions are making their way up to the surface. This is when they are coming up to be alchemized and witnessed and transmuted. And a lot of times it is heavy emotions. And like your luteal phase is essentially a mirror that is going to show you what is out of alignment in your life so that you can alchemize it and transmute it. But tapping into your cycle and understanding each phase of your cycle and like really intentionally tuning into it within your daily life will help you to tap into your multidimensionality. And of course, it's a lot easier in your follicular and ovulatory phases because we tend to feel a lot better during those phases. But when it comes to your luteal phase and menstruation, like I really challenge you to sit with it. Like if you have these heavy emotions coming to the surface, sit with them. Ask like what is going on. Ask your body, feel into where you feel them in your body, see if anything comes up, and really like give yourself permission to feel them and express them. And I think that that's a big piece of it too, is like allowing yourself to express these emotions, because we as women have been told to obviously not express them and not feel them. And so that anger that continues to come up every single cycle is coming up because you have been shoving it down your entire life, or because your ancestors, the women before you, have been shoving it down their entire lives as well. And it is looking for an outlet. And we as women, as feminine beings, like we move emotions. Like we are emotional beings. We are the water and we are meant to move those emotions. So the more that they stay stagnant and stay shoved down, like the worse it's going to get. For me and my journey with expressing my multidimensionality and really just like tapping into the expansiveness of my feminine being, I really began to find this when I was experiencing PMDD. So PMDD is premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It is a pretty severe and serious disorder that happens in women, which occurs from hormonal imbalance, but there is also the energetic and emotional side of this that I will get into. But pretty much when I was experiencing this, it was like honestly destroying my life. I felt like completely burning everything down, every single luteal phase, and actually felt like I was going insane. And back to the hysteria stuff, like this potentially was happening to women back then, and then they would diagnose them with hysteria. But as I began to explore PMDD, I really began to explore it on like a deep spiritual and emotional level, rather than trying to just shove it down or like in a sense, fall victim to what was happening to me. I really allowed myself to just explore it. I could feel so deeply that it was so much like ancestral stuff coming to the surface too. And I had mentioned like, obviously we have our own experiences, but our ancestors as well, and the women before us, like they were suppressed. They were not able to feel or express these things, like literally out of survival for the most part. And when that happens, like all of their experiences, all of their suppressed emotions end up living within us, within our womb. And that is why I think like PMDD, aside again from environmental factors, like I know that's a huge part of it, but that is why I think PMDD is so prevalent right now, is because like we are being given the opportunity to actually feel and alchemize and transmute all of this anger and rage and grief and pain and just all of this heaviness that the women before us did not have the opportunity to. For the luteal phase specifically, like this is our body bringing everything to the surface that is ready to go, everything that needs to be released and alchemized so that we can continue to grow and expand. And our luteal phase quite literally communicates to us, and like that is the job of our luteal phase, and we are meant to surrender to that. And that's why it's so important to have boundaries during this phase in your cycle so that you can like sit with yourself, so that you can actually witness this and feel into this and give yourself the space to move through it. When I began to work with this and really like work through this, and it took years, honestly, it took a while to kind of move through this and really like unearth everything that was coming up. But as I did that, like I really awakened a piece of my being that was dormant. I awakened this confident version of myself who knew who the fuck she was, who knew her mission and her path here, and who had boundaries. That was a really big piece of my journey, was learning boundaries and like standing up for myself and like really taking off the rose-colored glasses and seeing what was out of alignment in my life and what needed to shift, who I needed to stand up to, what I needed to let go of. And now I hate to say it, you guys, but my luteal phase is arguably my favorite phase in my cycle. And some of you will probably think I'm insane for saying that, but like, I kid you not, when you start to like really peel back the layers and just like get all of that out of the way and begin to tap into the power of that phase of your cycle, you quite literally awaken the dark feminine being that lives within you, the wild woman, the enchantress. And it is just, I like have chills right now thinking about it. I'm currently in my follicular phase going into ovulation, and I'm like, I'm fucking excited to be in my luteal phase because it literally transforms your life if you are willing to sit with that, if you are willing to sit with the pain, to face the pain, and to like just be present with it. It is so transformative. Like you will fall in love with your luteal phase. And that's the thing about being a multidimensional being. Like you have so much power in every aspect of your being, even the pain and the anger and the rage and all of that. Like there is so much fucking power in it. And just having the ability to express your infinite nature is the key to it all. Honestly, it is so liberating. So we really went into a lot there around the multidimensionality of the feminine and the cycle and all of that good stuff. But how do you actually do this? Like, how do you integrate this into your life? How do you begin to tap into your multidimensionality and really allow it to be your superpower? I would say the first step is to begin tracking your cycle. Like if you are not currently tracking your cycle, begin doing that. And if you are, beautiful. And really just like notice how you feel each day during each phase of your cycle. I do have a free guide, Cycle 101, that really goes into the basics of the menstrual cycle and some of the energetics and spiritual aspects as well. I do have a cycle tracker in there that is really helpful where you can track each day of your cycle, track how you're feeling, all of the things. And I really challenge you to just be present when you get to those difficult parts of your cycle, when you get to the parts of your cycle where the difficult emotions are arising in your luteal phase, menstruation, when the pain is coming up. Like really just give yourself the space to be with yourself during that time in your cycle. Don't make plans, don't overcommit, have boundaries, take time to yourself. Like we are more spongy during that time in our cycle. Our nervous systems are more sensitive during that time. And so we take on a lot empathetically and like energetically. So it is really important to make time for yourself and tend to yourself and really just like bring awareness to those heavy emotions, bring awareness to some of that like darkness that is coming up and just allow yourself to express it. Like one of the most simple ways to do this is to just sit with yourself. If you have something heavy coming up, let's say that you are feeling really irritable and angry at your partner. Your partner is like just annoying the shit out of you and they can't do anything right. And you're questioning your relationship and you're like, what the fuck is going on? Go and sit with yourself, write it out, go move your body in some way, dance, move your hips, shake your body, like ask your body what it needs to express that emotion and to move it through your body. And honestly, you guys, 9 times out of 10, you probably don't want to end things with your partner during your luteal phase. Like, if they are bothering you and annoying you, they're probably just a mirror for whatever is going on inside. Like, sometimes that's not very fun to hear, but it honestly is the truth. And I think that there is absolutely discernment there. But again, your luteal phase, like this darkness is a mirror. And the reason why it's so difficult at first, again, is because it's been suppressed within us. We've been taught to just shove it down and to not feel it and to not even allow that piece of our being to have any expression. So you need to give it an expression, giving yourself space to feel into where you feel this in your body. It might be in your throat and neck and shoulders. It might be in your belly, like really just tuning in and tapping into your body and feeling into it. And then again, asking your body, how do you want me to express this emotion? How do you want me to get this emotion to flow through me? How am I meant to alchemize this emotion? And the more that you do that and tap into that, like the more that these are going to move, and then you're going to really begin to tap into that raw power that lives within you, and then be able to express your full expression, your multidimensionality. And it's going to feel a lot easier and just like a lot more aligned and authentic the more that you do this. So again, if you guys need any help with working with your cycle, especially the basics, I do have a free guide, Cycle 101. I'll link it here in the show notes. And then I also do have a guide, Cyclical Creation, and this really helps you to learn about and tap into the energetic and emotional aspects of your menstrual cycle. There are 8 guided practices in it as well to help you connect to each phase. And if you have any questions, if you want to chat, if you just want to deepen into this work, if this sparked anything within you, I invite you to follow me on Instagram at Chaos Makes Magic. Feel free to DM me, whatever it is. I am literally just here to help, dying to help, and just like awaken all of these beautiful pieces of the feminine within you. And if you can share and subscribe, that helps me so much, especially as I am starting out with this podcast. And I cannot wait to share more with you guys. Thank you so much.